Thank you once again for joining us. I feel really, really good, and I hope that you all are in the same vibe as I am. So I'll ask the question, how y'all feeling? Yes, I was about to ask, let's bring that Southern charm. I'm from the Midwest, but if we're gonna bring that Southern charm, I want to make sure we're gonna engage with each other. But speaking to Southern charm, we are here to acknowledge uh, the wonderful and exciting Miss Cathy Glover. So let's just start with just a round of applause for all of our friends, Miss Cathy Glover. All right, so I'm not going to look back at Miss Cathy because if we start looking at each other, I think we're going to be exchanging tears. And so, Miss Cathy, thank you very much for joining us here today. First and foremost, I want to make sure not only do we have friends and family here in the audience, but we actually have a significant amount of friends and family virtually. And so I want to make sure that I do acknowledge those that have joined us virtually. Sorry that you can't be here for us, but what we will do is we will take all of your love and adoration and we will share it with Miss Cathy Glover. But thank you for joining us virtually. And especially, Cathy, I want to make sure that we do a special shout out to your family. We know the demands of this job, the peaks and valleys of this job, but it really takes a really strong family to support you. And we know that they've been there through thick and thin, but at the same time, knowing you, you've been there to stand them up also. And so, family, those that have joined us and those that are here virtually, thank you for being a part of this special recognition today. Cathy, it's interesting because there are certain professions that I take time to thank them for their service. First and foremost, it is those that are in the military, the men and women in the military. They most definitely deserve my deep respect and gratitude for their time and their service. Second of all, because I'm very biased, are our educators, our teachers. My mom was a elementary school teacher for 42 years. But I'm going to add a third profession to that list, and it's those in public service, and that is because of you, Cathy. And I really want to give you a heartfelt, just thank you for your service. I've learned this because this is my first time and stint in working in federal government and along with public service, but I've seen you. I've seen you early mornings, late nights. I've seen you in the virtual meetings, and you put in the grind and the work. And I just want to thank you for changing the way that I acknowledge those that are in public service. And thank you to everyone in this audience and those virtually that for your commitment to public service. And so I want to be efficient as we continue. There's a lot of folks here that are going to be sharing kind comments for Cathy Glover. And so first and foremost, I would love to introduce and bring Andrea Birmingham up, and she can start with a bio for Cathy Glover. Andrea?
I'm gonna have to bring this down. Well, thank you all so much for coming, being here with Cathy. I'm gonna miss you so, so much. So I'm just gonna hold that because I'll cry. All right, so I'm gonna read her bio. Cathy is a Greenville, Mississippi native and received a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Economics from Alcorn State University in 1988. She has also completed the Office of Personnel Management, OPM's Federal Executive Institute Leadership for a Democratic Society program in 2015, and American University's Senior Executive Leadership Development Program in 2021. Cathy has 36 years of affordable housing finance experience. She started her federal career in rural Illinois before moving to Washington, D.C. headquarters office in 2004. She has served in various roles throughout her career, including she started with Farmers Home Administration in Illinois in 1988 as an assistant county supervisor, Illinois State Office, housing specialist and community and business program specialist, headquarters in July 2024 as a rural energy coordinator, headquarters direct loan division, yay, I'm partial, senior loan specialist 2005 through 2009. And then headquarters guaranteed loan division, senior loan specialist 2009 through 2012, Over at HUD, Credit Policy Advisor, 2012, 2014, Director of Direct Loan Division, 2014 through 15, Assistant Deputy Administrator, 15 through 19, Executive Director as the Guaranteed Loan Program, 2019, 2020, and then Single Family Housing Deputy Administrator, July 2020 to present. As Deputy Administrator, as y'all know, she has provided nationwide leadership for USDA single-family housing, loan, and grant programs. Her many awards include the 2023 Presidential Rank Award for Distinguished Executive Leadership, multiple USDA Secretaries Awards, the HAC, Housing Assistant Council's Award for helping low-income rural Americans, the National Rural Self-Help Housing Award for saving the self-help program, and then lifetime honorary membership from both the National Association of Credit Specialists, NACS, and National Association Support Personnel, or NACS. Her proudest career achievement is working with rural families in Illinois, directly helping them with their housing needs. She's proud to have had the opportunity to promote and improve USD housing programs on a national level. So in retirement, Cathy is looking forward to spending time with family and friends, traveling, gaining new skills, relaxing, and volunteering. Cathy is married to Mr. John Glover and has 3 adult sons, Ron, aka Leroyce, Aaron, and Jonathan, and 2 handsome grandsons, Legend and King. All right. So I'm gonna pass it back over to you, Joaquin.
Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate that. And so now I want to make sure that we bring in some of our leaders to acknowledge Cathy. But before that, I wanted to highlight the last 2 awards that she had mentioned by NACS and NASPs. Those are organizations of career workers. And I think that was a tip of the hat to her leadership and her amazing leadership skills. Being a leader is no easy feat. And I think a lot of us can kind of agree that it's hard work. Not only do we have to know and understand ourselves, but we have to understand those that we work with. Last night, Cathy, I did some research and understanding, what type of leader would I categorize you or characterize you as? And, leadership is not only an art, but there's a science to it, and there are different styles. And so there was one style that, rise to the top, and I'd be curious if you all agree with me. It's called servant leadership. And so, yeah, right? And so here's the definition of a servant leader. It's a leadership style and a philosophy that prioritizes the growth and well-being of others. So to be super clear, when you choose to be a servant leader, you don't give up your passion or crush your drive to succeed, but you do choose to think of others first and make decisions, often hard ones, that best serve everyone and make your organization stronger. And I quickly wanted to touch on kind of the 7 principles of servant leadership. And each one, let me know just by a kind of like a shake of your head if you think Cathy embodies these principles. Number 1, honor others before yourself. Inspire vision before setting the course. Choose ethics before profit. Empower others before personal gain. Amen. I can tell you that for sure. Privilege people before tasks. Balance focus, but with flexibility before making decisions. And then lastly, serve with humility before all else. Would you say that's Cathy Glover? So Cathy, for me personally, it has been a privilege working with you. It has been a privilege working for you. I've learned so much, and we've only worked 3 years together. You have people here virtually that worked 10 times long with you, so I could imagine the impact that you had on those. And so I'd like to go continue here, and I'd like to call some folks up to the stage to say some words here. And I'm going to just see if I see him out in the crowd. And if I don't, I'll just go to the next person. So I'd like to first start with Roger Glendenning, Chief Operating Officer. Roger?
Thank you, sir. Hi, Cathy. Thank you, Ms. Birmingham, for all the coordination and keeping us updated on this event. It's thrilling for me to be here. Really nice to see so many friends, and I'm an alumni of single family housing, so it's great to see all of you here, and especially Cathy on this special day for her. So, of course, congratulations to you and your family. Cathy, you've made it through 36 years, and you've certainly left us a worthy legacy during that time. And in many ways, Cathy and I followed similar career paths. We both cut our teeth in the field with the farm programs and RD housing programs. She was in Illinois, I was in Delaware, Maryland, but we started there and helped form our foundation for everything that's come after that. So she and I just want to touch a little bit on our history together. Cathy and I started really working closely together back in 1997, 98, during the really early days of the 502 Guaranteed program. And we were just a blip on the radar screen back then, trying to gain some traction, trying to gain some national renown. And I was a new specialist up here at the national office. Dean was here at the time. But Cathy was in Illinois, and she and I worked together, solving problems together on this program. And they came up day to day, week to week, time to time. And Cathy was so good at problem solving and innovation and ideas to really help this program 502 Guaranteed gain a foothold that she was asked to come up and work on some task force up here at the national office. And that's how she and I really got to know each other, other than over the phone. Back then it was just the telephone that we talked on. And so that's where it started. And, you know, in our early days, we both spent time in single family housing. When she did come to the national office, she had a short stint in RBS, but she worked in the direct loan division. I was down in Guaranteed. And then she came down to the Guaranteed division during a really, really important time when the program really started to explode during the ARPA days, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And that's when our program in the Guaranteed side really took off and gained a strong foothold. And Cathy was a big part of managing that down in the 502 division. I know she left and spent some time at HUD at FHA, and got a promotion to go over to HUD and FHA. And we were so proud of Cathy. And I don't think that's a move she would ever trade. I know she missed leaving Rural Development and USDA, but it was a great experience for her. And we were fortunate for her to circle back to us and come back into our single family housing family after some time at FHA. And that just helped her even more become more well-rounded in the affordable housing space. Then, see, she and I have been more or less connected all these years since the late 90s. We got a chance to work again together as a deputy administrator and assistant deputy administrator in single family housing for a couple years, 2018 to 2020. Those were great years, and we were partners. We were partners with the team, and we worked on things together, and none of it would have been possible without Cathy's input and ideas and resilience, and just the way was able to deal with stakeholders and staff in such an effective, poised manner. And then finally, you know, her ascension into the deputy administrator's role. No better person for that job. No better person's handled that job than Cathy has. And I've stayed connected with Cathy. You know, she mentors me from time to time, maybe talks me off a ledge from time to time. And I try to return the favor from time to time if there's some things we need to coordinate on the administrative side of the house. So a little bit of our history there. And I'm so proud to have that history with you, Cathy, and for us to have been friends and business partners over the course of 25 years or so. It's been a really thrilling ride, and to have you along as part of that in my career just means so much to me. You know, in these roles at headquarters, especially, there's always challenges. There's things that we have to overcome, stay strong about, try to work through. Those things never seem to leave the space here. It's part of the space. And Cathy has just such great fortitude during those times and resilience to rise to the occasion time and time again and come out on top and do what's best for USDA and the programs in single family housing. So again, I'm truly blessed to have you as a friend and as a business partner. She's terrific to work with. You all know that. And we've partnered together for many years as you have with her. One of the biggest accomplishments and legacy standards that I think Cathy will leave us with, and I know it's impacted me, is just the sense of family and community she's created around single family housing. And I'm not talking just at headquarters and our orgs, but across the country, throughout the states, the single family housing teams are just so ingrained together with the national office teams. It's one big family. And we work through problems together as a family, and we stay connected as a family. And I just think, Cathy, that's such a positive legacy that you've built and you're going to leave single family housing with, is that we're a team and we're a family. It doesn't matter if we're national office, state office, anything in between, we're a family. And that legacy you've left with us and built is just truly amazing. And it's going to be long-standing, and it means so much to us getting through some of the challenges that we face and rising to the great accomplishments that you've been able to bring to the program. She's also had some other significant accomplishments, of course. I know the Native American relending pilot is something that we harken back at. It's really a proud accomplishment. She and I traveled the West together. We've been to South Dakota, Montana, New Mexico, and spent a lot of time in Native American country. And I just think that relending pilot, Cathy, is a capstone that's going to be long remembered and will only grow from here. So thanks for letting me be a little part of that too. But that's an amazing accomplishment on your record. Just a few of the very many things that she's been able to accomplish around single family housing over the years. So Bob Raposa, the National Rural Housing Coalition lead, sends his regards. He's not able to make it today. He tried, but he wasn't able to get across town. There's some events going on here in the city. He does have a frame poster for you. And it says, join the National Rural Housing Coalition. 2/3 of our nation's bad housing is in rural areas. So it's a really nice frame poster. He sent me a picture of it, and I'll make sure you see that. And he promised to get it to you. I do just want to mention a little bit about what's coming next. Chris Meckley is going to be rising to Cathy's position and assuming those responsibilities. I'm really pleased with Chris being able to follow in your footsteps, Cathy. She's been a longtime partner of me and Cathy, and I think it's in the field offices, knows our programs well. And I think that's an excellent choice to pass the baton. Ingrid's here too. She's a legacy senior leader here in the single family housing space. And I know her presence is going to mean a lot for the continuity of our single family housing programs. And also just the single family housing team, whether you're an alumni member or present part of the team, I'm so proud to be associated with you all and kind of be part of this history a little bit. It means so much to me. So thanks for all you do and all your contributions as well up to this point and moving forward. So in closing, Cathy, thanks for your friendship to me. Thanks for your partnership. Of course, your contributions. And thanks for a lifetime of memories for me. Best wishes.
Thank you, Roger. You know, what I really appreciate why Roger started us out here, and I ask all of you as a favor, not only are we here to celebrate Cathy, but in the fashion of as Cathy does, is she gives these gifts, she educates us. And I want you to listen very carefully for the nuggets of people that are closely related to Cathy and what do they call out. One thing that I realized in what Roger said is the importance of authentic working relationships. He said they've known each other since the 90s and see the deep respect he continues to have for her. And so if you don't have any of those relationships with work partners, you better work on that because I think this is a lesson to be learned. And I think there's a lot of lessons we're going to pick up. And so next, I would like to introduce formerly the Undersecretary of Rural Development, but now our fearless leader as Deputy Secretary of USDA, Xochitl Torres Small. If you could just come up for a couple words.
I couldn't miss this. Administrator El Toro talked about the nuggets that I hope that you pick up today. And I want to tell a little bit about the nuggets that I've had the chance to learn that Cathy has taught me that have made me a better leader and that has made the organization better and has made rural communities all across the country better. I'll focus on three: the connection to the field, the value of the career and appointee relationship, and the determination to see things through. When it comes to the connection to the field, Roger talked about that sense of family that Cathy builds. And so often, because we all care so much about our missions, it is easy to think about what we do as the most important. And it can be really hard because you've got people in the field who are delivering the programs that we provide. And you've got people in DC who are disseminating the policy and making sure that everyone is doing it consistently. And then you've got people who are working with Congress to try to make sure that we get the funding that we need because we know the impacts when we don't have that. And it can be hard to see that family together all the time. Cathy makes us see the family. I remember going to NASP in North Dakota, and I walked into a room, and sometimes it can be a bit of the setup is very much, we're going to ask questions to the national office. But when I walked into the room, Cathy was there chatting with a few state employees who were on the ground. And for a second, I just thought, oh, we're all RD. That's not always the case, but the way you act, Cathy, the connection that you have, your experience coming up through the field and bringing that as a fundamental part of the work that you do, has also taught you to respect the way the field has changed and to continuously listen to the people who have the knowledge on the ground about how to best reach the people we serve. That is how you build family, is by a shared respect for the knowledge that each of us has. It also is how you build on a relationship between career and appointee staff. You know, it's so often the case that you think about the challenges in that work, right? You've got sprinters and you've got marathoners. And sometimes sprinters have a different sense of what's happening than marathoners. And sprinters certainly don't have the map that marathoners know in terms of where they've been and where they're going. And so often we see that as a challenge. But Cathy taught me to see the incredible benefit of that structure. That when you build that relationship of trust, when a sprinter trusts a marathoner well enough to say, I don't know how to do this part of the race, we learn from each other. Cathy, you taught me that it wasn't always my place to say, this is how we should do something, but that I should say, I think we should do this. How might we accomplish that? And what would that mean? You also taught me how to take no. To say, this isn't a good idea, but let's look at what you're really trying to achieve there. And she did it in a way that accomplished more than I thought was possible. I think the biggest example for me for that is with the disaster programs, because I had a very clear sense of the pain that people were experiencing in Hermit's Peak or with the flooding in Kentucky. And I had a clear sense of how we were going to try to do that. And we tried some of those things and they did not work very well. But we also tried things based on your experience that did work. And the most interesting part there is you have tried so many things. Now, for marathoners, it can be easy to say, I have run this race. I know what steps to take. And the unique thing about Cathy is that she said, but I'm willing to try it differently too. I'm willing to keep asking questions, to keep learning from people in the field, to keep learning from folks who are coming in for a sprint, and to find ways to serve rural people better through that collaboration. The last part I'll say is Cathy's willingness to see it through. Cathy and I have had multiple conversations about retirement timelines. And I'm really glad you chose to stick it through because that's how you got that presidential rank award, I might say. But she knew she had a list of things that she wanted to get done before she left. And I think what kept you here, maybe there were other things, but that you had that list and you've seen those things through in a way where we know the lives that will be impacted all across rural America because she stuck around. Cathy, you've shaped who I am as a leader now and who I will continue to strive to be as a leader in the future. You've shaped people all across rural housing, all across rural development, all across USDA. You've also changed lives of people all across the country. And I'm so grateful that you've been a mentor and a friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. I think not only is it important for us to hear what people are saying, but I think equally important, I think we'll see a theme on how people speak. And they're speaking from a pace, it's like we're just looking into the sky and just thinking about our relationship with Cathy. And so thank you again, Deputy Secretary, for those comments. Next on the list here, I would like to invite Chastity Gaston, Assistant Deputy Administrator. Thank you, Chastity.
All right, thank you all for having me. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Cathy, for giving me an opportunity to speak about the fearlessness of Cathy as a leader. She doesn't always get to hear us talk about what she's actually imparted upon us, so I am going to do that today. In being the phenomenal leader that she is, one of the things that I've learned watching her and from her directly is being an effective communicator. So I will be brief today, I promise you that. In addition to communicating effectively, what you all don't necessarily see behind the scenes is that she's equally as much of a fearless leader and advocate as she is in front of your face. And having that integrity in leadership, being able to maintain that in all that you do is something that it's going to take me time to hopefully master. Cathy, in being fearless, is also tactful. I'm still working on that. I appreciate how she uses every audience and every opportunity to be a fierce advocate for her team, not just for the taxpayers, but for the work that we do. And you also have to be effective at actually executing and reaching your departmental goals and the goals that you set for your team. So practicing what you preach, having integrity, and making sure that you're constantly looking at your toolkit as a leader. So I want to thank you for that, Cathy. But of all, I admire many things about Miss Glover, but she executes everything with grace. And grace, I don't know if any of you all are spiritual or not, but it's not necessarily something you can teach. It's not necessarily something that you are born with. It's something that you actually have to nurture. And she's the epitome of being effective, knowledgeable, an advocate and a leader, but doing so graciously, which makes others want to work with her and work for her. So as we watch you go, know that I will be taking all of those nuggets and really making an effort to figure out how I can duplicate them as a leader. So thank you for your patience with me. Thank you for leading by example, and thank you for your grace.
Thank you, Chastity. You know, what reminds me as I'm listening to Chastity speak is just an acknowledgement. I spent the majority of my career on the private financial markets, and rarely did I see women leaders or women of color leaders. Let's be very clear that Cathy runs a significantly large organization. The asset size is very large. I think last year, 1.7 billion. We're talking B's here that she's running. And so I think it's very important for us to acknowledge that. Not many people outside this, in the private mortgage market even know that we exist as an organization. And so Cathy, really appreciate, there's many badges you wear as a woman of color, as a Southerner, so many different things, but I want to make sure that we call that out. So thank you. Next is Scott Nista, Senior Policy Advisor. Thank you, Scott.
Even coming up here, I have a million things swirling in my head as I'm thinking about, what I'd like to say about Cathy. One of the privileges that I've had in my position is to be a fly on the wall for great leaders in our organization. And I've learned a few things, and I just want to kind of go down a list of some of the things that have come across me thinking of Cathy. One, and just this one's just kind of interesting. I've had a couple people tell me that Cathy is their spirit animal. I'm not sure what that is or what that means, but pretty sure that's a good thing. So Cathy, one thing is Cathy sets the example. It's an easy person to follow. Cathy works, right? Cathy likes to work. Cathy likes to get things done. And I've seen Cathy in both sides of it as a leader and as a colleague, and the work ethic doesn't waver. And that's an easy leader for me to follow. Another thing that I loved and learned about Cathy is she asked the questions. So I think one of the things that's so powerful about Cathy, she doesn't know. She will say, "I don't know what that means. Please explain it to me." Just asking that, because once Cathy has the information, and the Administrator Toro said this over that Cathy can see the future. And I think that future scene is from asking questions, doing your homework, being there every day, pushing at the envelope. That's what gives you that telling the future. And Cathy brings that to the table. And I encourage everybody to start asking those questions if you don't know. Before I came to rural development, I was in the Marine Corps. And I was in a very elite, I was in a recon, which is a very elite unit. And I personally didn't have to do anything dangerous, all right? I was very safe and just trained. I want to make that clear. But I met a lot of very tough people who did do heroic things. I would put Cathy Glover as tough as any of those people that I've ever met mentally and mostly physically. Cathy is the toughest person that I've met, and being able to do the mission that we do, and you have a life on the side of it. But you've got to keep everybody focused on the mission. And Cathy was able to do that all the throughout her time, and that comes from toughness. And just two more things that I'd like to share is, one is that the thing that I think, Cathy, that is the thing I love the most about you is just how much of your personal energy you're willing to give to other people, and it doesn't matter who it is. It's the customer. It's our field offices. It's me. It's the administration side. Cathy's gives her energy willingly to other people. And it's not just on the professional front. Cathy looks out for you. All right. Cathy will looks for people and tries to give them chances. And that's such an important thing. I wouldn't be up here without chances that Cathy gave me. And I know others in this room were given opportunities from Cathy because she sees something and she'll take a chance on you. And I just appreciate the world of that about Cathy. And so Cathy, I just want to say thank you. We'll do our best to take the things that you've taught us and carry things on. And just one last thing is, as I was walking here, I got a text from my wife, and it did say, congratulations, Cathy. Tell her that I will miss her and her influence on you. So thank you, Cathy, for everything.
Now that one's emotional. Even his wife knows the impact, And Scott, I heard that you're not really a public speaker. You shouldn't have been up here. Now that I know, I'm gonna have to, call on you for a couple opportunities, but thank you very much. Next is Brooke Bauman, Director of Single Family Housing Direct Division. Thank you, Brooke. That's okay.
I decided not to do that. So I really appreciate this opportunity to provide some brief comments on behalf of the Single Family Housing Direct Division. First and foremost, Cathy, we want to congratulate you on your retirement. We want to wish you all the best post your stellar government career. And we really want to thank you from the depths of our heart for your amazing leadership. You have just guided us and have supported us and have been truly amazing. I've been honored and privileged enough to work with Cathy for, roughly 2 decades. And that's kind of sad how that ages us. But it's just been truly a blessing. Really thankful for the fact that the bulk of that was in person. And I had the benefit of actually taking advantage of her open door practice and scooting myself in there and asking for guidance and getting her input. And also had the benefit of celebrating staff birthdays and other special occasions with her. Throughout the time that I've worked with Cathy, it's just been apparent to me that her focus is building up and strengthening people, and I say that first, programs and partnerships. It's just obvious based on the comments that we've heard today. It's obvious based on the actions that she has taken throughout her career. And, it's obvious in the awards that she's received that her contributions are going to be felt in rural development and rural America for decades and decades to come. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Next, I would like to invite up Ingrid Ripley, Executive Director of the Guaranteed Loan Program.
So we are here to celebrate and honor someone who has been the cornerstone of the single-family housing family. And I call it a family as we continue from the administrator to the deputy secretary to everyone who speaks. It is a family, and that cornerstone is Cathy. You stand for that. She has been the guiding light for single family and an inspiration to many of us, not just us here in headquarters, but all around the country. Cathy, as you retire, I wanted to take this moment to express my real heartfelt gratitude for the warm welcome you extended me when I joined USDA. And you hear all of you have worked with Cathy for years. So you have this bond of many years. But even for somebody who's come in new, like I did, who was an outsider, she was very inclusive. And that was very important because when you come from a different agency, it's like you're coming to a new world. People have their cliques, they have their relationships, and you have to try to break in. Cathy was very welcoming, and she made my transition into USDA so smooth and enjoyable. One of the things that I enjoy the most, and I don't see him here, but if you recall, we used to have our assistant deputy administrator luncheons monthly. So the three of us would get together once a month, and we would complain about our bosses, we would talk about our challenges, and we even talk about our family. So that was our time together. Joseph, Cathy, and I, every month we went out and had that quality time to talk about our boss's family and challenges. So I really appreciate that. Then a couple years later, I was asked to join this wonderful single family, which I've been privileged to have been accepted for. I know that you weren't given a choice in the selection process, but I once again appreciated the warmth, welcoming environment you showed me. Once again, you made me feel part of the family, and I am very thankful and grateful for that. Your leadership has dedication and commitment have shaped the direction of single-family housing, and you're hearing it through all the people that are going to be coming up here of how important that is. You have led the single-family housing programs with commitment and excellence, and all the other words that I have said before. You've also have led, with your guidance, the program has grown, not only in dollars, because you've seen it grow from small program to a bigger, but the impact that you have made. And I heard the administrator mention about the impact out there in our community. You're always mindful of the effect our programs have on rural community. I heard it yesterday when you were talking, your last conversation to the field office when we had the meeting yesterday, and how important that rural community art is to you and all those family that you have impacted. And I know that's the emotion that you carry with, and that's why you've stayed the way you have, the leadership that you provide, because you see where the mission goes and you see those families out there always. And when you're making those leadership decisions, you are always looking at them and see how you can improve them, how you can make their life better. And we appreciate that and appreciate you for being that kind of a leader to think about those things. I think the service leadership that the administrator mentioned is part of that. As you step into this new chapter of your life, filled with joy and relaxation, I want you to know that your legacy will continue to inspire all of us. We'll carry forward the values you've instilled in us, and we'll strive to make you proud in all of our future endeavors that we move forward. Thank you for your guidance, your wisdom, and your unwavering commitment to the success of the program. We will miss your presence, but we are excited for you as you embark on this well-deserved journey of relaxation and new adventures. Congratulations on your retirement. May this next phase of your life be filled with happiness, great health, fulfillment. You are always going to be part of the single family single-family housing family, and you will always be in our hearts, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Ingrid. So I'm going to call Christine Meckley up, Director of Servicing Office. She's our last scheduled speaker. If there's one or two other folks that are just burning to say something, we want to create that space for you. If you're interested, if you could stand by the side here, and then we'll wrap up with a presentation of gifts thereafter. And then we can spend some time getting closer to Cathy thereafter. And so Christine Meckley, Director of Servicing Office.
Thank you so much, Joaquin. And I realized when I came up on stage that Cathy can see all the wonderful emojis that everyone that is joining us remotely can see. So keep sharing them. I want to wish Cathy, her family who's joining us today, and all of her friends and colleagues online a warm welcome. It's an honor to speak today and to wish Cathy all the best on her retirement. I first began working with Cathy more than 10 years ago. She was in single-family housing headquarters, and I took a position at the former centralized servicing center. Cathy was intimidating. She knew everything and everyone related to single-family housing, and I was starting out and had a lot to learn. But as Ingrid mentioned, and as several of you have mentioned, how gracious she is, how welcoming she is, how she shared that knowledge and was patient with me while I've learned. Through the years of working with Cathy, I've learned so much from her. Collaboratively, we've worked on many, many projects together. Our Partnership Alliance, our COVID flexibilities, automation initiatives, and recently our single-family housing loan servicing work group. In addition, Cathy, along with Roger and actually Jennifer, who's here with us today, took me on my first ever home ownership month tour through Texas and New Mexico, where she eloquently could describe her passion for our single-family housing programs. Recently, I learned a lot about Cathy's early career years and realized that our path almost crossed in the 1980s when we were both about 10 years old. 10, okay? Cathy started her career, as I think Andrea mentioned, back as a assistant county office supervisor in 1988 in the Farmers Home Administration in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. What Cathy didn't know back then in 1988 is that I was growing up and living in Champaign-Urbana. So our paths were that close back then. As she spoke to me about the difference she made in Central Illinois, through many of the years that we've worked together, it made me so proud to know that she made a difference in my home community and in Central Illinois. And that being in that state changed her career trajectory and brought her to all of us. So it makes me proud. On a personal level, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Cathy. As many of you know, she is very witty. She's funny, sometimes a little sarcastic with me. But what I've been always the most impressed with, and Scott touched on this, is her strength, her resilience. Every day, things can happen and we all face challenges. As Roger mentioned, we're talking people off the ledge. Cathy has talked me off the ledge as well. But she is always focused on the mission of rural development and what we do. She loves housing and rural development. Single-family housing has personally touched her life. I've heard her testimony regarding the difference that our programs make every day. The number one message I've learned from Cathy, and I've been really paying close attention over the last several months, and that I always carry with me as I try to fill her very large shoes, is that we always, always, always need to keep top of mind who we serve. We have the ability and privilege in single-family housing and all of rural development and USDA to make a difference in the lives of rural Americans. And we collectively provide that dream of home ownership. In closing, I want to say a huge thank you to Cathy on behalf of our Illinois residents, on the hundreds of thousands of Americans' lives that you have touched across the country. Thank you. I hope you will always remember, I hope you always remember that you made a difference. You have touched everyone in this room, everyone online, because I can see all the emojis. It's amazing. And all of us, I hope you will always remember that difference that you made. You always focused on and advocated for who we served. You will be deeply missed, but your legacy will continue in the policies that you instituted, as Roger had mentioned, and your colleagues and all of you that you've inspired here today and online, and and through the lives you've touched. I wish you all the best in this new chapter of your life. Enjoy this new season with your family and friends.
Thank you, Christine. And no pressure, by the way, because you sure have some shoes to fill. All right, one or two folks, if you can please keep your comments efficient, please, because we want to get to the rest of our program and just finish us out. So please come on in. Make sure you introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Dean Dateweiler. Keep it brief. I've known Cathy for quite a few years. Again, we started nearly at the same time, so a little bit before me, just a few months. So I had the pleasure, like Roger had, to work with Cathy when she was still in Illinois, got to know her. Had the extreme pleasure then to work in the guaranteed section when she came over there. She is a great friend, great mentor. We do share a passion that we care about, the mission of the program and the families. And I see that in Cathy all the time. I always say that that's why I'm still here, is because of the mission that we have. I've learned so much from Cathy. I cherish the friendship that we have. I'm thankful to God that our paths had crossed and we became friends. I get emotional. So, again, thank you for all that you've done for this agency. You have made such an impact to these single-family programs and to the field. Being from the field also, that's always what I tried to keep in mind. And anything we do is, how do we support the field? We were there once, know what a lot of the issues are, and you still listen to the field, and that all becomes part of the decision that you make. So I think everybody in single family should be very grateful. And you have definitely changed people's lives, changed, the mission. And I thank you for everything.
Come on up.
Hey, how is everybody doing? I'm Antonio Burkett. I used to work here, how long ago? Some years back. I'm gonna keep it real brief, short to the point. I'm not really here to talk politically, just FYI. I'm gonna, bring it up, raise the vibration a little bit. And I'm finna roast Cathy. Big CG. This is not planned or anything, but I met her when I was an intern, probably in 2008. And I remember she was working in an office down the hall. Was it 2243? So, somewhere around there. But I walked in and I remember I think the office was Melvin, it might have been Dave, Stewart, and Cathy. But Cathy, she was in the corner, facing the wall. I don't know why that was, but I thought, okay, something is not right. Hey, Beth, stay away. Her hair she had a little bob going on, it was black. And next thing I know, somebody pissed her off and then she went to HUD. I don't know how long she was there, but anyway, she came back and I was like, oh, she done bounced up on the gang. So I said, all right, I can stay here a little longer. Cool. And so, over time, we always knew when it was a time to have a little fun. There was time to be professional and get the work done, right? And so I just want to say, If anything, Big CG, she don't hide behind no emails. You know she was coming down the hall when she started stepping in them heels. You can hear her coming a mile away. You really made my time great. I appreciate you. You came back from HUD, hair gone. I don't know if they stretched you out. I see you fast forward years later. Now you what, blonde, strawberry blonde, something like that. Hair done grew back and everything. But so I love because I'm a sign language interpreter, hypnotherapist now. So I'm doing my own business thing, and I work from home remotely, right? 3 days. Say all that to say 3 days during the week. Not a lot of people can get me to come back out the house, driving through DC, finding parking, reading all the parking signs, trying to understand the math and the geometry and what I can and can't do, right? But for CG, Big CG, I did it for you. Congratulations. Thank you for making my time here amazing. No problem.
Wow, I've got a tough act to follow there, Antonio. I'm Barry Ramsey. I didn't have a speech prepared. I'm just going to say a few words from the heart. Many years ago, Cathy and I started working together in Illinois, and I got to finish my career a few years ago working for Cathy here in DC. It was a good run, and she's become a good friend. I got here a little bit early today so that I could help Andrea and others decorate. One of the things I thought we would do is take down all the portraits of the secretaries that you haven't served under. So we didn't have to touch any of them. I'm not kidding. John Block, under the Reagan administration, is when she started. And so we go all the way around to Secretary Vilsack, and she's covered it all. But through that, I don't have anything to say about her accomplishments. I echo everything everyone has said, Cathy. But each of us in our lives, we get to meet maybe a handful of people, only a handful, who really make our lives better. She's one for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Well, most of you don't know who I am, but I'm Kevin Stevens. And it was briefly mentioned that Cathy came to work for FHA HUD for a little while. Well, I was that guy that hired her away. So I just wanted to say something real brief. Again, had nothing prepared, but as you know, I tend to wing it anyway. So, Cathy came to us, I can't even remember, like 2010, 12, 14, somewhere in there. I can't remember how long you were there. But even in that short amount of time, Cathy made a lasting impact. And I think it helped both of us advance our careers separately. I learned a lot from Cathy, and I think hopefully Cathy learned from me also. And in the greater things, while we didn't work for USDA, we had similar missions, and we were able to gather that knowledge and help the greater single family world that across the country, whether it's rural, urban, or whatever, we all have the same idea in mind to get people into houses and keep them in houses. And that really came through. So I just wanted to say thank you for, helping me in my advancement, and best of luck. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kayani Garnes. I am Cathy's niece. I first met her when I was a baby, I'm sure. Don't recall. But the trend that has been there is that she's always been present. She's always supported. She's always loved. And I joined the Navy at 17 years old. And the first place I left, because she was working in Illinois, and I went to boot camp in Illinois, was Aunt Cathy's house. She came and picked me up for a weekend away from all the crazy chaos and drill. And consistently over my 20-year career, she's always been there for me, my babies, I don't want to get emotional, but I love you so much. And I can speak for the entire family. I hope they're watching. We are so proud of you. You are such an inspiration. Throughout my career, I look to you, not even knowing sometimes what I was looking for, just to talk to you, your maturity, your grace, your sage wisdom, always timely. Our family reunions, I can count on you to pull it all together. It can be chaos, but you will pull it together and make sure that things go off without a hitch. I appreciate your steady hand, your maturity, your love. Above all, your love. You know, we don't have to talk a whole lot, but I knew you loved me. You always showed up for me, so there wasn't a chance that I was going to miss today. To be there for you as you have always been there for me and my family. And from the bottom of my heart, my mom, my sister, we love you so much. And not just my sisters, and brother, excuse me, our family, our cousins, our aunts, your mother, my grandmother. I know your sister and brother are watching with pride for everything you've done for the country, for our nation. Your commitment to excellence is top tier. I am so proud to say you are my aunt, and I'm so grateful that I got to be here to celebrate with you in person. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I love you.
How was that for a capstone? Your love and your grace. Cathy, I would like to, this is probably perfect timing now is to create space for you to come up here and speak. Please, Cathy.
Wow. You guys just had to close with my niece who made me cry, and I promised I wasn't going to cry. It has been an amazing day. I feel like I've had an amazing career, thanks to all of you that are in this room today. You said a lot of wonderful things about me, and as my niece said, I know that my parents, my mom, my dad, and my sister and brother that passed on a few years ago would be very proud, along with the rest of my family. I do have some prepared notes that I started and I want to read, but I didn't get finished. So toward the end, I'm gonna have to ad lib a little bit. But I wanna read this. First, thank you, Andrea Birmingham, for putting this together. You know, I always lean on you when I want to have a party, be it a work party or a conference. You know that you're my go-to. You're amazing, and I hope you know that. You asked me to provide some nuggets today. I think if everybody take what you heard today about me, and if you heard something or something that inspired you, we had all these great leaders today. Take those words and keep those words with you and in your heart. Thank you, Ms. Altoro Joaquin, for being the MC today. So I'm gonna just, if I can get my notes together here. So first and foremost, thank you all for attending today. As you know, this is it for me. It's been 36 years. I can still remember the day that I started with the Farmers Home Administration. I moved to Champaign, Illinois, moved into a friend of a friend let me stay with her. When people hear me talk about Illinois, this is what Illinois did for me. I'm from Mississippi. I grew up in the Mississippi Delta. I had to move to Illinois for this job. I had $800. My father passed my sophomore year of college. My mom was a single mom. There's 11 of us. But when I was in college, I think there was 3 still left at home behind me. So I was toward the end. I had $800. I moved to Illinois, a friend of a friend. The friend happened to be from Chicago, Illinois. We met in college. One of her friend let me live with her, and they helped me find, just for a week, I was gonna stay in a hotel with my whole $800 in credit card. Not good advice. It's something we would tell our borrowers not to do. That's what I was gonna do because I knew this job was the beginning of a new life for me. And I figured I'll pay the credit card off eventually, but that didn't happen. So I moved there that long ago. So I just have to thank the Illinois crew for welcoming me, this little girl from the Mississippi Delta, scared to death, broke. but they were also good to me. But the most important people I want to thank my parents, even though they are gone. Many of the values that you all discussed today, that's what they instilled in me. My dad told me we were religious. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I don't know where that verse is in the Bible, but I know it's there. My mom said, yes, that's okay. You should do that. But always remember to stand up for yourself. Stand up and fight for yourself. Don't let anybody walk all over you. So in those days when you all were confused about who I am, it was probably like, what am I supposed to do? Do I let them, do I turn the other cheek like my dad said, or do I stand up and fight? So that sounds simple, but those are tough choices. And I think that we all have to face that. What do I do? It sounds like from what I've heard today, for the most part, I did the right thing. I'm sure I made some missteps, but I did the right thing. I've used their advice throughout my career. I've done my best to be kind and to treat people the way that I wanted to be treated. I always try to think about who we serve, and Ingrid and I, she knows we have these conversations about who we serve. I've accepted all of the challenges that have come with this job. I've done my best to advocate for single-family housing, for the people we serve, for the single-family housing staff in headquarters, and for our state and local offices. I love housing, and I love serving as your deputy administrator. It has been a true blessing. I've received a lot of help on my journey with my Farmers Home RD journey. My first county supervisor in Illinois, his name was Kevin Mellendorf. I was so afraid I wasn't gonna be able to pronounce his name right. There was a district director, his name was Bob Clark, but I called him Mr. Clark. They taught me a lot. They trusted in me. They have faith in me. At that time with the Farmers Home Administration, we had to do everything. We had to interview the applicants. We had to do the single family housing appraisals. We had to do chattel appraisals. We had to do real estate appraisals. We had to do inspections. I had to learn what the water heater needed to have, the pop-off valve, and all these kinds of things. They taught me that. There was so much that we had to do. I was thinking, there is no way in the world I'm going to learn this job. I'm not going to even pass the probation period because there's just too much. But I did. They were patient with me and they taught me, and I'm forever grateful for that. I worked in 4 different offices while I was in Illinois. And then I was so fortunate to move to the state office. This awesome housing program director by the name of Barry Ramsey took a chance, took a chance on me. We were a great team, Barry and I, and Donna, who was the other specialist, and Dana and Jim. We were a great team. We were a family. We were the single family housing family. When I came to the national office in 2024, you heard Roger mention it a minute ago. I was an RBS. I was the renewable energy coordinator. But then I ran into Mr. Glendenning, I think in the stairwell. And he was like, hey, Cathy, what are you doing here? And I told him, and he said, oh, you should come and work in single family. I said, okay, I kind of miss it. I'll come back. And he set the stage, and I talked to the deputy administrator, and I came back to work in the direct loan division. So having known Roger, thank you, I've known Roger Glendenning and Dean Dateweiler like forever. You know, I knew them many years. We were friends, we were family. We would see each other at meetings, and then we had the opportunity to work together and to take the single family guarantee program to the next level, which I appreciate. When I became the director of the direct loan division in 2014, this was after I left HUD, which, by the way, Kevin can tell you, we had a lot of great times together there at HUD. It was so hard for me to tell Kevin that I was leaving. I was like, oh my God, you know, I just got here. We had a really good relationship, and we were doing a lot of stuff together. And I appreciate him for coming out today. But when I came back, you all know I started in the field, so I know the programs. I know what we do. I may not know what the current regulation says or the current ratio or what we're doing for this, but I have it, you know, that's built into me. So I knew all of that. I knew housing. I learned a lot more about housing when I went to work at HUD. I was always curious. So I feel blessed to have had that opportunity. but there was something else missing. I had the program background, but I was new to what I would say true leadership, even though I had been leading and doing some things, but I was front and center. And at that time, the direct program was kind of shaky. Scott, would you say? It was a little shaky. There were a lot of things going on, and I didn't quite understand it. And I remember the interview asking, Roger was on the panel asking, well, what about the funds? I'm like, are we going to get more money? And Roger said, Cathy, you need to be worried about spending the money. We're not spending the money. And that shocked me because when I left, we didn't have enough. And so that was what he said to me. So I had a great deputy administrator that hired me back. Her name was Joyce Allen. And at that time, rural development was paying for executive coaching. Joyce was great. And she said, this executive coaching program, I think you should try it. And I did. And my coach said, well, what do you want to focus on? I was like, well, no. I said, Joyce, what should I focus on? She said, I want you to focus on political savvy. I'm like, okay, well, what is that? But I didn't ask her. I told my coach, that's what I want to work on. I told her all the things that were going on in rural development and all the issues that we were experiencing at that time. And what she said to me was, I want you to contact someone that you think is a great leader and get their insight on things. I said, okay. First person came to mind, Roger Glendenning. Called Roger up. I don't know what job he was in. He was not in single family. He had moved on. I called Roger up and he said, well, I think you need to talk to David Villano. He used to be the deputy administrator. And I think he was pretty happy with the way things were going when he left. And I knew David. I said, okay. So I called David Villano, like Roger said. I called David and he was all nice. He go, well, you know, you're just a director. I don't know if you're going to be able to make that big of a difference, but here's what I think you should do. He said, and I'm going to tell you, people weren't happy. We were getting letters. And one of the folks that was writing a letter to the secretary is not here, but Roger read something from him. It was Bob Raposa. I was like, who is this guy? And he writes the best letters ever. And Dave Villano said, call Bob Raposa. And I went, are you kidding me? Like, don't you have some better advice for me? He was like, nope, call him. He said, you all want the same thing, call him. So I did. I called Bob Raposa. I was scared to death. And this is what you all didn't. This is the behind the scenes that my team didn't see or know, because I was brave in front of them, like Antonio said. But I called him and he was so shocked. He was like, whoa, you're calling me? Like, what did I do? It's just like I know, and it just kind of established a new relationship. He also told me to call Moises, who was over at HAC at that time. Now David Lipsis is leading that organization. Call Moises. I called Bob Raposa. I called the HAC leadership. And we started working together for the good of the single family housing program. Because you all know me, it's not about me. It's about who we serve, our program. And when I say who we serve, not only am I talking about the loans and grants that we do, I'm talking about you all too. I'm talking about my colleagues in the national office, in RBS, the technology, the finance office, wherever they may be. We serve them all. So I try to always keep that in my mind. Then from there, making those 2 phone calls, it was like they put me in the club. Everybody started accepting me and, you know, inviting me to their state and inviting me to events. And this was mostly all on the direct side, because the guaranteed side, Roger, Dean, Joaquin, Stewart, they pretty much had that under control. They were doing an amazing job, but it was all on the direct side. So it got me into the club where I needed to be. And everybody saw the sincerity, like, hey, we just want to help. We want to make it better. We are not your enemy. And they were letting me know, Cathy, I'm not your enemy either. Like, let's do this together. And that has really been my secret sauce. Just having that, listening to my supervisor, who was Joyce, calling Roger, who told me to call David, who told me to call Bob and Moises. I listened, I did it, and it worked. So if you don't take anything away, if you ask somebody for advice, you must respect them. So if you respect them, try to take their advice, at least give it a try. And that's what I did. So another kind of time in my career that was really testing. It was prior to us establishing the single family guarantee unit that we have at that time under the administration. They wanted it instantly. And they were like, what are you doing? You told me you were setting this up. What are you doing? I'm like, you just told me last week. Like, I can't set it up in one day. But what I did, I pondered, I thought about it, and I thought about it over on a Sunday, typing and doing different things. And I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to establish a volunteer type team. And I'm going to have Kevin Smith lead it, which was kind of bold and gutsy, but Kevin accepted the challenge. And I say golden but gutsy because as federal employees, there are so many rules we have to follow. Like, did you advertise it? Did you consider this? Did you do that? And so sometimes you just kind of have to take a chance, and that's what I did. So we got Kevin, Dean, Stewart, Michelle, all those folks. We all got together, our colleagues from Deloitte, Lucy, Lane, Sarah, I don't know if they're here, but I see Lucy. And we did it. And we established, of course, Scott. Then Roger came in. We established a whole new unit, and look at it where it is today and how many people that we've been able to help with that. So that's some of my secret sauce as to how I get it done. But it all starts back to those guiding principles of just trying to do the right thing about people and to be kind. And that way, when you reach out to folks to ask their thoughts and opinion, like your OMB examiner, Jennifer Bell, she would think you're not nuts because, you know, so I have established relationships with all of those folks. There is so much more that I can say, but I feel like it has been a really long goodbye, but some special people that have really touched me and that I've been close to along the way. Michelle Adams Smith, she drove 16 hours to be with me when my mom passed. That's a friend. When I go on travel, if something get quirky with the airlines, I call her up and I start talking. I go, wait, are you working today? And she helps me. She takes care of me. That's hard to find. That means the world to me. Scott, you all know, really, I think he's been the deputy administrator for the past few years. But they just let me have the title. My point is, we can't do this work by ourselves. We need to help each other. We need to be kind. We do need to ask the questions. We do need to think about who we serve. We need to try not to offend people, but we have to understand sometimes that happens. I've witnessed a personnel situation with Roger. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but when it was over, he goes, wow, I feel bad. I offended her. And I was like, well, she deserved it. But, but it really bothered him to do that, you know, but that's what you have to do for this job sometimes. So many people are here today that I've worked with for so many years, just to see Danielle that I work with for so many years, who came from Michigan just to work in single family housing with us. She was amazing. Elizabeth Lewis, who was a Pathways that Barry hired, who knows the Mississippi Delta. We have a connection. Just having, just having her here and seeing her grow in our organization. So many great people. John Delaney, we all work together. I really appreciate David Lipsitz for taking time. He's leading this huge organization, doing amazing things, but it's the same thing that we do. So I just appreciate him for joining in with us today. Please ignore Antonio Burgett, well, everything he says. But I love him, and he was a Pathways. A lot of the folks in single family came in as the Pathways. Myron Wooden, we worked together. I called him my little brother. He was born the year I graduated from high school. So just all of that. And for Barry to take his time to come all the way from Illinois just to be here for me today, it is really, really amazing. Mig DeLace, just so many folks that are supporting me. I really appreciate it. There's so much more that I can say. My family, some of you might know I am from a large family. I am the 8th child of 11. I lost my mom last year and I lost 2 siblings a year before. Very tough, very hard. So whatever you do, love your family. I know we may not always get along with our family, but love your family, take care of your family, be there for your family. My 3 sons, my oldest son is, I believe, on the Zoom call today. He is in a leadership program. He is a non-commissioned officer now, but he's in a program to become a commissioned officer, which he will be. I'm very proud of my 3 children, Ron, Aaron, and Jonathan. They've seen a lot. They've been here for me along the way. My husband, who was not able to make it today, John, has been amazing and very supportive of me. There's so much more that I could say, but I won't. I've already cried a lot. Dean came into my office and made me cry. That's why my speech is not finished. But we have an amazing mission here at USDA Rural Development. If you think about it, hopefully we all live in a house. We're not homeless. And that's what we do. We prevent homelessness for rural American. So thank you, everybody, for all of the kind words today. And our Deputy Secretary, she was the one to nominate me for that Presidential Rank Award. And I was like, are you sure, me? I kind of doubted, like, do I really meet the standards when I read it all? But apparently I did, and I'm just so happy. And I'm just so thankful. So I know we're getting kind of late and I'm rambling on and on and on, and I apologize for that, but thank you all for coming. I love you, and continue to remember who we serve. Thank you.
So thank you, Cathy. Thank you very much. We want to be respectful of time here. You're getting a lot of love on the virtual screen there, if you can see that's coming through. And so we had a video we wanted to share, but I think what we're going to do is save that and send it out. Is that correct, Andrea? What do you want to do? Because I know we're going to make sure that we share the video at a later time with you. So forgive me on that. We do have an award that we want to share with her. So at a minimum, if we can have Andrea come up and tell her about the award, I'll hold those for you. Got that?
And then we have a plaque that says, in honor and appreciation for 36 years of outstanding service and leadership that has created a lasting legacy. So thank you, Cathy. We will miss you so, so much.
Thank you. So in closing, this morning, I walked into Cathy's office. You want me to hold one of those, Cathy, for you? You got that? This morning, I walked into Cathy's office because I wanted a little bit of just good energy to be able to represent her today. And I said, Cathy, can I just get some of that energy? And, I get it. Thank you for the opportunity to MC for you. And she said, in Cathy fashion, she said, you got this. Well, I want to say, Cathy, no, you got this. Not only do you got this, but you've had this. And going forward, you will continue to have us. I would say, in response to the pictures of kind of the legends of USDA, Cathy is a legend of USDA. And so when we close our eyes and think about USDA, not only let's think about our secretaries, but an embodiment of USDA and its mission is Cathy Glover. So thank you. Thank you. Our show is now at an end. Please stay, refreshments. Let's have an enjoyable time and continue to celebrate Cathy. Thank you, everyone.